Hi everyone, I hope you're doing really well today. I'm here today to talk about a book that I have just finished, and I couldn't not talk about it because I kind of feel many different feelings. So let's just get into it. So the book that we're going to talk about is The Intruders by Louise Jensen. And the premise of this book was absolutely not what I found between the pages. I've never been so confused and up and down and just not knowing what the hell was happening in a long time while reading. Now, sometimes that sort of level of insane ride can be fun, and sometimes I do enjoy that in a thriller. However, not when you genuinely don't know what's happening and everything that's going on is slightly different to what you are promised. So basically the story follows James and Cass, who have been given a place to live, and they are sort of in the early days of their relationship, and they want to spend more time together and further the relationship, and they're really excited to go on this sort of journey of relationshipdom, and they are given a massive mansion to move into. And this is really good for those two because they're going to be able to live there free of charge. They're actually going to be paid to live there because they're working as caretakers in this house, because it has been bought by a development company. But it's going to be done up and made into something nice for people, because the house itself has a dark past. The house has lay empty for 30 years, I believe, because in the 80s at some point there was a murder of a family in that house, and the family were just sort of just minding their own business. Someone broke in and killed them. Adding to the overall discomfort of the scene, there are remnants of the family all over. I don't mean like murdered remnants, I mean like their stuff's in the house. And particularly there's a pair of little wellies as you walk in the house. The children's wellies are still there, and the job of James and Cass is to also document whatever's in the house and make almost like an inventory of everything that's in there while they're staying. Now, the premise of the book and what was sort of promised to you is that things start to move around in the house, and are they really alone? Is the house holding secrets? What's going on? Why are things moving? And just what was in the pages wasn't just so different. Now, I will say, as this review goes on, I will be dropping some serious spoilers and spoiling the entire book for you, but I'll give you warning before I do that, so don't worry. So everything I've said up to now isn't a spoiler. It sort of is the general just layout of the story. It happens straight away, and it lets you know that this is the situation. The writing style straight away turned me off. It was bad. It was really bad. It read like a high schooler's paper of a fictional story. We keep jumping back and forwards between different perspectives. So we're reading a passage that's written by James, then we're reading one written by Cass, but they keep signing off their paragraphs with these bizarre little, almost like cliffhangers. It's all very R.L. Stein in the Goosebumps era. We're left with things such as, but if she'd known what I was hiding, then maybe it would be different. The end. And then the end of Cass's chapter might say something along the lines of, but if I had have known how badly things were going to go, maybe I would have cherished it more. And it's all like that. It's just, it's cringy. It's really cringy writing, and it just kept happening over and over again. The promise of things moving around in the house and appearing, disappearing, whatever, basically only amounts to a window keeps being left open, and the clock keeps stopping at 8:30. That's about it with the spooky things moving around the house. I can't remember anything else. There might have been, but it was irrelevant and pointless. Small spoiler alert, we find out that Cass is pregnant, but the way that she suddenly just announces that she's pregnant, and all of a sudden she's just suddenly very pregnant, and it doesn't ring true at all. There is absolutely nothing about that situation, the way it was written, the way that the character reacted, none of it felt real. It was almost eye-rollingly cringy. So about sort of maybe a third way into this book, I very nearly DNF'd it, and I haven't DNF'd a book in a long time, but I was really close to just closing it and just refusing to read anymore, but I persevered. There are several different plot lines and characters and things that feel like they're going to be a prominent and important part of the story that never actually fully flesh out. Just no character development whatsoever, and just no reason for these people to have been brought into the whole situation. It's really, really bizarre. It really is. There's this huge thing in the beginning where in Cass's little cryptic passages where she keeps writing things about what happened to the past and sort of nudging on the secrets that she's holding. She keeps mentioning a Leon, and we are dragged on for ages wondering who Leon is and what happened with her and what this huge secret is with Leon. And when you find out who Leon is and what the secret is, really, is that it? Is that what that was? Really? It's just it was pointless and stupid, and then it doesn't thrash out anymore. It's like, what was the actual point of that being in there? I think again with Cass as well, we're supposed to be maybe looking at someone whose mental health perhaps isn't the best. However, I just think it was badly done. I mean, it's left for us to guess that maybe she's not feeling quite herself, but it's not really explained. We find out she's been on medication for a while, but then it's just not plausible. And now I'm going to move into some serious spoilers. So if that's not your sort of thing, click out now, because I'm going to ruin the book for you, basically. So we end up finding out that the family that were murdered inside of the house are actually Cass's family. And Cass doesn't know this, but Cass has somehow ended up back in the family home without realising that her dad is not a real dad. He's actually her uncle. And Leon is her other uncle. And she is now pregnant and living in this house. However, James thinks that he is the missing child who was the one that was left behind, because in the family massacre, the smallest child went missing and no one knew where they went, and that child was lost. Turns out it was Cass. But James thinks it's him because suddenly James starts getting these memories of this house after all. And he can't figure out where he knows these things from, but he knows them. And then we find out that James's mum actually came to this massive mansion house when James was little and brought James over, and James and Cass met each other while they were small children. And then we find out that, again, massive spoiler alert, we find out that Cass's mum and dad were running a snuff film industry in the basement, or not in the basement, in some hidden little chamber within the house. And James's mom came to the house looking for a housekeeper role, ends up being taken into the back room, ends up having to murder a woman on camera, as you do, but somehow manages to foil them and escape and run away, but somehow still dies. And then we find out that the woman who's lending the house to them and letting them live there is actually James's real birth sister, who murdered Cass's family and now wants to make Cass pay and make Cass find the secret room so that she can access the snuff movies. That's right, I shit you not, that is the book. And so by the time you're nearly at the end of the book and you suddenly find out that this actually has nothing to do with any sort of paranormal thing, the whole situation was a snuff movie setup, and then we find out that it's actually James's sister murdered Cass's family. The two of them have somehow, despite both being adopted by different families, have re-met each other and ended up back in this house with Rose, who wants to kill them, who then throws a pregnant Cass into the secret room and leaves her there for a while. But suddenly, pregnant Cass suddenly remembers, after a day of sitting in there and weeing in the corner, that she has a way out. Pregnant Cass then finds a way out, who also, she's found out she's the missing child, by the way, because her uncle and her dad, who is also her other uncle, arrived at the house just really scarily, just appeared in the house just to tell her exactly who she was and that she belonged to this family. So then she just goes about her business anyway and continues to live there. And then this sister, who tries to now kill Cass, ends up getting thrown in there herself. So James has been away on a business trip. Whilst he's been away on the business trip, he discovers he's adopted and thinks he's the missing child. While he's deciding he's actually not going to tell his girlfriend because he doesn't want his girlfriend to know that he's the missing child, he can't get hold of Cass. Cass, who is at the mansion, who has found out she actually is the missing child, but again decides she doesn't want to tell James either that she's the missing child because, I mean, that's normal. And so she decides to stay in there. So she's accosted by the father of her baby's real sister, who's been in jail for murdering her entire family because her family tried to murder her mum because there's a massive snuff dungeon in the house. And she decides not to say anything, but even though she was held captive for over a day, and then she suddenly remembered that she knew a way out after a day, she then comes out and shoves this Rose, this sister, she shoves her into the snuff den and leaves her there. And then when James comes home, she doesn't tell him. For some reason, James, now believing that his entire family were murdered in the house, has decided he really wants to live there for the rest of his life. And so he's just come into a massive inheritance and decides to buy the place himself. So he asks Cass if she wants to live there. She goes, what a brilliant idea, yeah, let's live here. But she doesn't tell him that she's got his real sister locked away. That's my dog getting upset now. I agree. She doesn't tell him that she's got his sister locked away. So she just decides to keep this Rose tied up in the snuff dungeon and just keeps sneaking in for months to feed her because that's what you do. And they're now living there together, both of them. The end. Do you see what I mean? What on earth was that book all about? It has been a while since I made a ranty video about a book. It's been a while since I read something just this messed up. But I would absolutely love to know if any of you have read it. If you're going to, probably not, considering I've just entirely spoiled the plot for you. But just, yeah, let me know what you think because I feel thoroughly perplexed and confused by what I just read. And so I'm going to go now and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.